one time I tried to be cool in a relationship and I got out of the shower too quick. I'll never do that again.
You know what I'm saying? Bro, you can't be serious.
Oh, no,
there's never a full serious moment with you.
I have plenty of serious moments. I'm just letting you know I won't do that again.
I got you.
You know.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, Steak and Sauce family. This is episode 24. I'm Antonio Claiborne, aka Mr.
Yo, where did that come from?
My bad. My bad. That was me because I didn't expect that.
Yeah,
you know me. You know me.
I changed it up.
All right, my bad.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, Steak and Sauce family. This is episode 24. I'm Antonio Claiborne, aka Mr. Multiple Orgasm.
Mr.
I'm
O.
one fourth of the Four Horsemen. You already know who the star is, aka Mr. Meat the Meat. Don't bring your baby mama around me.
Don't do it.
Dang, that's crazy.
I'm 34-0 in the streets. I'm going meat to meat, and you ain't laying on my sheets.
Yes, sir. And we have Preston, aka Boy Stop. I got more land than you.
Boy.
Oh, Lord. Boy.
And last and not least, we have Weston, aka I do everything behind the scene, and I mean everything.
And I mean everything. He keeps it low. Hey, we're back, and I'm so happy. First, I want to express my gratitude and thankfulness for us to be here doing this again, and just to be thankful for just this opportunity. So not only am I proud of everybody here, I'm proud of myself. You guys are pushing me. We're being consistent. And this is the baddest podcast in the land.
Period. Yes, sir.
If you don't know, you should, because
your baby mama does.
Your baby mama does. I'm telling you, she's watching, okay? I wish YouTube would let me dial it in so I could see specifically who's watching, because I'm telling you, they on there, all right? I'm telling you. And before we get any further, put that burger down. You know what time it is. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button so that you can be up to date on the best content that we're putting out. We have an amazing guest here today. I'm not even going to try to get into all her accolades. I'm not going to steal no shine from her. I'm going to let her do that. Everybody, Steak and Sauce family, give it up for Miss Tierra Fennell.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do, we've had a lot of episodes where we talk about mental health in men and women. We've talked about relationships, some of the struggles behind that, especially in today's society and our generation. So we felt, hey, what better to do than actually get someone on the show who is a professional and who is licensed in this area, right?
Very smart.
Very smart, right? Very good. So before we get into that, has everybody had a good week?
I had a great week.
I had a phenomenal week.
Okay, that's awesome.
The boys lost.
Yeah.
So,
I ain't even thinking about that.
Cowboys, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I had a good week.
I don't
Boys
know much
lost,
about
it's been rough, you know.
They lost, but I ain't lose no bet. Let's get that straight.
Hey, Mandela.
Yeah, we didn't lose no bet.
There's a little bit of gray in this
I
bet.
won.
Yeah.
Second bet, I lost. I give you that.
So I don't think he owes you as much as you think he owes you.
Yeah, boy.
We just want to clarify that, boy. All right? We're going to get it straight though, all right? Now, I want to do something right quick. It's a little bit different. I wanted to bring it back, and I'd take some more time before we get into the videos. But this week, whenever you get down, I like to clown. I like to laugh. I found a couple videos I think you guys would like. I just want to run those right quick, and then we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes. If y'all would go ahead and put y'all's headphones on, we'll roll those. Yeah. Now, for everybody that thinks wrestling's not real, this proves that it is, okay? These are real moves. These are real athletes. These are real people, okay? This stuff could happen to you at Kroger, all right?
I know about that Kroger, but
Okay, this could happen to you. You could be in the aisle shopping for spaghetti sauce, and somebody could Scotty Too Hotty your ass, just like this right here.
Scotty Too Hotty.
You're like, damn, that was to the face. Oh, they took it into the crowd.
Up the ropes he comes.
Oh,
Breaking the top rope.
He did that with.
But they feel it the next morning.
That's what I was thinking. They have to be so sore
Yeah.
the next day. I mean, that's a neck injury.
Military
The dude in the pink has 4 kids at home. You know,
Allegedly, they're doing this safely. But
You're right.
It's not given that.
he's
Doing this for $100.
How much you think they're getting paid for this, Sonny?
No more than $200.
$200 for all this?
Yeah, for all this.
Maybe a cut at the door.
The dude in the black has been practicing for months, and they got $200 at the end of this entire match.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, you better pay me more than $200. You want to crack a fluorescent light bulb over my head. I'm going to tell you that right now. What do you think?
I'm all with it.
I'm all with it. I'm telling you. Listen, man, wrestling is real. If y'all don't believe it, here it is. Let's roll the next one. Now, before we do, my bad. I saw this. I thought about today's show, how important it is. Shed a little light on it, and I thought about this for you. So, yeah.
One of my friends made $800 in one day through Instagram. Yeah, she doesn't post naked or anything. So I'm proud of her for making that money, but I don't know why I'm proud exactly. She says one guy sends her $400 anytime she has an hour to kill just to talk to him about his trouble.
Wow.
Which, good for her. That's most people have to spend 6-8 years in college to become licensed therapists.
Right.
She skipped it. Her license is like a cute selfie and her cash tag under it. That's the equivalent of going straight to the NBA right out of high school.
I agree.
You agree?
I want to know how much money they make just putting their cash app underneath their profile. I feel embarrassed to do something like that, but if you want to give me money, then
and
you'll be surprised how generous the people are.
Yeah, I get secondhand embarrassed when I see someone do that.
Yeah, I know, right?
And you don't even have over 1,000 followers. So you got your cash tag on you.
You trying to pay. If you got under 1,000 followers,
good for her. That's
and you are trying to put your cash app out there, that means rent's due.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Okay? And you are trying to figure out how you
We're
going.
surviving.
Yes, you are not flourishing. You are making it, just by the skin of your teeth. But look, I ain't knocking nobody's hustle.
No.
OnlyFans, I ain't subscribed to none of them
We
because,
support sex workers.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not paying for the categories that I like to see for free. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I'm not going to do it, And mine are specific. They're dialed in.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be very hard on such a broad platform to
Lots
kind
of studying with
you
it
know what I'm
today.
saying?
Yeah.
I think it'd be very hard to kind of dial that in a little bit. We got one more, Weston?
College to become licensed therapists.
Now, everybody, since my mom's been on the show, we have been talking about words of the day, right? And this lady is amazing. She's very smart.
You
So
automatically think
did
of
y'all
a
know
woman
this?
who sleeps around with a lot of different people. Whore is a noun. But did you know there is another pronunciation of whore, H-O-A-R, which is an adjective. And whore, H-O-A-R, is described as grayish white. And it would be referred to when you see white crystals of frost.
So with that being said, I'm
Or
fitting
frost.
next winter. I'm fitting to call everybody.
H-O-A-R.
And if they get mad, I'm gonna say, no, you don't know your
You don't
vocabulary
Whore.
because I'm giving you a compliment.
Listen to the sentence
This comment said I'm
itself
waiting for Auntie to use
to
whore in
make
a
sure
sentence.
you understand
I didn't see
what
that.
it is they're actually saying.
So what y'all think? Did y'all know that? Does anybody here know that word that
No,
Not the
alternate?
H-O-A-R.
I have
never.
never seen that.
Never.
Weston, you ever seen that? No, I've never seen that. But I really appreciate her because she be dropping some gems, and
Yeah.
I'm constantly on there every time she posts learning a new word. Last episode it was quidnunk.
Yeah, quitting up.
Has anybody seen any quidnunks
I've seen a
around?
couple of them today.
You seen a couple quidnunks today? I have a quidnunk in my neighborhood.
You're going to have to catch me up. What's
Okay,
that? I don't know
a
that one.
quidnunk is a person who goes out of their way to be nosy, to call the homeowners association on someone because they left their bicycle outside at nighttime, or they're suspicious of this vehicle being in the neighborhood.
Updated Karen.
Karen,
Yeah,
it's an
updated
updated
Karen.
Karen. That's a $5 word for a Karen. You know,
A quidnut.
and some
Quidnut.
people get offended to Karen, so we'll just say quidnunk. Right? So so we're gonna get right into it. Tiara, can you kind of dive into your profession, kind of what made you want to go into this career field, and at what age did you kind of know that you had a calling?
Sure. So I'm associate licensed marriage and family therapist in North Carolina. And I have been since 2019.
Wow.
And I am currently in the process of seeking licensure in a few other states. When did I know I had a calling? So I feel like I've always been that person, that friend, family member, whoever that people like to share. Yeah, like they came to, they wanted to express their problems. I feel like I come across as very supportive.
Yes.
And try to offer, a level-headed perspective. Back in the day when I was younger, we were dealing with stuff in middle school, and I remember telling my friend, and even talking to some of my older cousins, they're like, "Girl, how old are you?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's always been something I know I wanted to do. And then I went to undergrad and studied psychology at UNC Chapel Hill.
Hey,
come on, Tar Heels.
Let's go, baby. Weston. Woo, 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 woo.
And so after college, I was like, I don't know where I want to go. Psychology is such a broad field. It can take you into a lot of different directions. And at the time, I was like, I'm not trying to get my PhD. We'll come back to why. That's funny now. It's very hilarious. And I didn't want to do research again. Very funny given where I am now. But so I just took a couple years off after undergrad to figure out what I really wanted to do. And in that time, I was a college advisor with the Carolina College Advising Corps. And I worked out somewhere that I'm sure no one's ever heard of because I hadn't heard of it before I got the job. But it's Weldon, North Carolina. And I worked at 2 local high schools in the area, helping students get into college. And I found that a big chunk of my job outside of like helping people learn about financial aid and having, planning these trips to go see these campuses, right. There was a lot of conversation being had with my students and their family, and any of the other people, the adults and support systems in their life about how we can help make this transition smooth for them, for their families. Everybody comes from a different background, has different situations, and going to college or even trying to start a career or wanting to move away from home is, a big deal. It has a large impact on their family.
100%.
And so I found myself having a lot more of those conversations. And I think, there was some particular students that touched me during my time there where I was like, man, like this is important, right? Yeah. Like the work I'm doing and the wraparound support that I was offering, and how I hope I was being able to show it for them, not just as an advisor, but someone that they could trust. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to work with families. Mm-hmm. So that helped me figure out, okay, MFT, that's what I'm doing. And
what's that stand for?
Marriage and family therapist.
Okay. Gotcha.
In the more inclusive term.
Right.
Couple and family therapist, because there are some people who are in coupleships that are not married, and we respect those as well. And we do respect those. Yeah. So I applied to a few schools, and ended up going to Northwestern University out in Evanston, Illinois, where I got my master's in marriage and family therapy. And have been practicing ever since. So after that, I moved back to North Carolina, practiced for about a year or so, and then I recognized working in community mental health, which was always my passion. Once I got into my master's program and figured out what kind of opportunities or like where do MFTs work. Obviously, most people know private practice, and that's where a lot of money is, which is great. But
where the money resides,
but that's not a motivator for me. Like I try to do things that feel aligned with who I say I am and the values I have and the people that I want to serve, which are the folks who don't normally get the opportunity to have access to the best resources. And so decided to go into community mental health. And as I was working there, it's like, I love this job, but I see why the people don't want to be here. You don't get paid a lot. The need is very high, so you have like a high caseload a lot of times. And then you're working with people who have very complex lives. And I know there was a lot of times I had to have conversations with my clients about, what you need that's going to help your depression is a job and like support, wraparound support, a stable home, knowing you're able to feed yourself and your family. And unfortunately, therapy doesn't do that. I can't give those things to you, but I hope, that this is a space where you can kind of vent and release those issues and those feelings and all the things that come along with having that experience. And I'm gonna do my best to like point you in the direction of some other people who can offer that support. But I started thinking about it from more of an administrative standpoint. Like, this is a field that I'm very passionate about, and I'm passionate about the people that I serve, like my marginalized folks, my low income people. And I want them to have the best. And there's a lot of great therapists that are coming out and, trying to get into the field, but community mental health just isn't appealing for all those reasons, because we need to make some money too. We're trying to survive and, make things happen for ourselves in that way. And so that is part of what motivated me to go back to school and try to learn more about the administrative side of running mental health services, as well as trying to find a way to intervene to get more people interested in mental health, particularly community mental health, and hopefully long term I'll be able to impact some policy, but that's down the road.
Hey, well, Steak and Sauce family, if you've learned one thing, you need to get your weight up, okay? Because this young lady right here, let's just give a hand for all that. Goodness gracious, I thought I'd done a few things, but goodness, I want to be like you when I grow up, right? Stop. So, no, it's a beautiful thing. Like, you should be proud of yourself for, continue to push through all those levels, and which kind of brought me into what does being a marriage and family therapist, what does that entail? A little bit for people that may not know.
Yeah, so I think, and it's hard, people ask all the time, like, what's the difference between an MFT and a psychologist and a this and a that? And there are some that are very plain, like if you want to be a psychiatrist, that requires going to medical school and being in school a much longer time than I would desire. But a lot of the clinical work that we do as MFTs, we call it systemic therapy. So you're thinking about, no matter who's in your room, whether it's an individual, a couple, or a family, you're thinking about that person in the context of all those different layers. If it's a relational case that you're dealing with, you're thinking about each of those people that are there as individuals. You're thinking about their romantic relationships, their family relationships, both from the new ones that they're forming or trying to form, the families they come from, as well as the community they come from. Why are you laughing, Derek? I'm sorry. The communities they come from, and all the other contextual things as you're thinking about, and, kind of journeying with people of their own self-discovery and whatever they say their goals are. So you're kind of trying to balance all that information at once.
I'm sorry, I was not laughing at what I was not laughing at what she was saying. Y'all know me, I ain't got no sense. When she said something, I had a whole little thing that came up in my head just now.
Oh my
God.
What do you base all your teaching off of?
All my teaching in terms of when I'm teaching other people in therapy. So I'm gonna be a little bit of a nerd, so bear with me. Ask some questions if you need clarification. So in my master's program, the model of therapy that we learn is called integrative systemic therapy. And the way that it works is that we kind of learn a little bit about each of the main sort of relational models of therapy. So there's a few that I can think of, like structural therapy, strategic family therapy, experiential, and the CBT, like behavioral type of models. And how my model works is based on what your client or clients are saying they need, whatever their goals are, is kind of the level to which you intervene in the matrix. It's a very... We could have a whole hour of me explaining that, but it's essentially a model where you're able to kind of cater your services specifically to the client's needs and maybe the constraints and things that they're coming up against as they're trying to make changes in their life, whether it's behavioral, emotional, mindset changes. And as those blockages those blockages come up that might be preventing those changes, you kind of intervene at those levels. So it's a back and forth, up and down type of thing, but with the hope that you come up with a combination that'll get this person to wherever it is they say they want to be.
Wow.
I had one. It's more simple than what he got into. it's more like you're scheduling. So, I guess I could start out how many groups or people are you seeing in a day, essentially? Yeah. So
it varies. I forgot to say this in my first introduction. After working in the field, that's what kind of prompted me to decide to come back and get my doctorate degree. Mm-hmm. So I'm currently a doctoral candidate at Virginia Tech in the Human Development and Family Science Department, still specializing in marriage and family therapy. And so as a student, when I was working actively in the clinic, we were supposed to see 5 to 8 clients per week. And that's, as a PhD student, you're doing a host of other things, like research, and we have assistantships to help fund our schooling, so we don't have to pay as much out of pocket, because you do still have to pay some out of pocket. And so, but when I was in my master's program, I was seeing about 15 people per week. And then when I was in the field, I had 2 jobs at the time. Both were therapy jobs. And I think in total, I had about 35 clients at one point.
How do you keep up with all that information?
I know
you write it down.
And that's where I was going with the next. My next is like, how do you also have like your cool down time from one client to another? They have 2 different problems.
Oh, absolutely.
Like how do you transition that?
I will say I'm a compartmentalizer, so I can kind of say, all right, this is what that was. I can lock that up and put it up later, and then focus in on what's next.
Okay.
Yes, that comes naturally for me, but for other folks, and there are some ways as a professional, we've been trained to kind of take those moments, like kind of meditate, breathe in, breathe out. Yeah. Write it down in your process notes that you have for yourself. But it is a lot, because there are some days where you're like, you have somebody at 4, 5, and 6. So you have, and sessions are about 50 minutes long. Assuming that they're going to end on time, you have about 10 minutes in between to kind of get yourself together.
Wow, that's great. I'm
glad you brought that up, because I could see somebody being in there and be like, let me tell you about Brandy. And then if he gets on a whole, if that person gets on a whole rant because they have not been able to, outside of the confidentiality of that, they've not been able to express themselves. Now's the time. I have somebody that
1000%.
I have somebody that may back me on this. I have somebody that may listen to me and understand kind of where I'm coming from.
And then Brandy becomes your life for 50 minutes.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Talk about my
10
minutes
later.
Brandy, yes.
Damn it, Brandy. So as many, well, let me rephrase that. When it comes to relationship struggles, not anything specific, what have you learned that on a large scale that people are struggling with in relationships and marriages? Because you said that you see both.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my disclaimer here, because we're about to get into the
let's go ahead and run that. Listen up, everybody.
So ethically, I would just like to make it very clear, though I am a licensed professional marriage and family therapist, I am not your licensed therapist. So please take all of these thoughts for more entertainment and just my personal perspectives. I do encourage therapy's great. So I do encourage everyone to find a therapist that is right for you. If any of these topics that come up feel like they're in alignment with you or something you want to work on, do that.
Maybe if it don't work out, you know why.
It'll be because of that therapist.
Especially, and we won't get onto this too much because we try to stay away from some of these things on the show. To all my young black men and women, really take heed and know that it is okay to go ahead and reach out and get a therapist and get enrolled in whatever type of therapy you need. I've been doing it since 2013. A lot of people are like, dang, we can't tell because Derek's crazy. But you know what? That's cool, because I'll take that, right?
Yeah.
But it really is great, and it is a tool, and it is available, and the stigma that surrounds it, I feel like is diminishing less and less every year.
1000%.
It's getting lower, and I think people, when you tell someone that you confide in that, hey, I am in therapy, they see that as that's self-love. That's the work you're doing that nobody knows about.
100%.
That's you not feeling right about some things that you've experienced, and you want to see if you've processed those things in the correct way. And I feel like, people should look at that as a positive.
1000%.
All right. So now that we got the disclaimer, and I know you guys heard that, I wrote down a few things like being transparent, and communication.
Damn, that was my question.
Right.
What are a few things that couples can be transparent about?
Right. Or more transparent about that you've
Everything.
Everything.
I think in our prep call, we were we were talking about things. And to your original question that you asked, I think in general, the biggest piece that couples struggle with is communication. And I think people have an idea about what that looks like. But when it comes to building a romantic relationship, more specifically, I think that's probably the most vulnerable emotional place that most of us have ever been in or will ever be in. And so you don't always recognize in the moment, like when you're navigating these relationships, how much you're holding back, how much you're not sharing, how much of your process is just internal, and you're assuming that your partner is seeing these things, and it ends up kind of spiraling into these narratives that we create in our own mind, about like, you know, this person isn't noticing this shift that I'm making. Like if my partner asked me to be more, I don't know, like be more present when we're at home, and you know, and I love being on my phone or something, or I enjoy, you know, or my job is social media, similar to like part of what you do. Right. And you know, I'm going out of my way feeling like, okay, well, I'm making these shifts and these changes. They're not saying anything about it. There's no acknowledgement of it. Now I'm starting to feel away. Right. But I'm not going to tell you I feel away.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad that you touched on that for a second, because I think we've all probably experienced trying to do something to help somebody or for it to show up on their radar. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, we're like, oh. You know what I'm saying? He kind of deflate a little bit. You know, if Preston cleaned the whole house and spick and span and everything, just so that when his significant other got home, she'd be happy about that. That's one less thing she has to do. No towels to fold. The animals are taken care of. Everything's good to go. And if she had a rough day, and it has nothing to do with him, but maybe she just walks in and she just goes straight to the bedroom and just kind of like decompresses for a moment. As a man or as a person, you may take that in lieu of like, okay, well, did she notice that I did all that work?
You got all this excitement built up. You're waiting to see her face.
And the anticipation that we place upon other people, right? Yeah. And then when we don't necessarily meet that, like you said, we're creating a narrative. Now I'm creating a narrative that, you know, and sometimes those things just don't show up to the other person. And that's one thing that I've learned. Yeah. You know, and I think that's where it's okay to step back and be like, hey, you know, letting people know you may have felt some type of way. Because that's when you'll know, no, it wasn't even that. Preston, like, I just had a rough day. I just needed 40 minutes to clear.
May I ask y'all?
Yes.
And if you've had an experience like that, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship, or a friendship, what has kept you from being able to tell someone like something hurt your feelings, or even just asking like, hey, I did this, or you didn't acknowledge it? Like, what's up with that?
I just like keeping things to myself.
And me and him, we talk about this a lot. I think that my childhood allowed me to express myself because I was given that space. Yeah. That's what I've learned. And that's what I'd like to do now as an adult is say, hey, if something's bothering me, can I talk to you? But I have learned that everybody has different capacities for you to talk to them.
1000%.
Somebody's box may be this big. Somebody might let you download with them for 5 hours. Some people can only take an hour. And I think that we're kind of programmed to be like, okay, can we cap this off? You think that they're trying to push you to the side, but no, that was their limit. That was something hard for me to learn. Yeah. Right. And I feel like it's been sometimes easier for me to express myself. The times that I have, and I felt like I got a little bit of a closed door, I was reluctant to do it again. Yeah. So what I did is I took another format. I tried to write. Right. Because then my options would be, not options. My opinions would be pinpointed, and I wouldn't be all over the place. You know, I realized that, you know, one time I tried to be cool in a relationship and I got out of the shower too quick. I'll never do that again.
You know what I'm saying? Bro, you can't be serious. Oh, no, there's never a full serious moment with you.
I have plenty of serious moments. I'm just letting you know I won't do that again. I got you. You know, that person, I don't think they had an issue with it, but I mean, I wasn't proud of me. and I did not afford myself
two belly buttons.
I did not afford myself the opportunity to get right. And I put myself out there to be kind of, hey, and I don't think it, for me. So I won't do that again. I just had to put that. I mean, we're talking about transparency.
It was good, but it was just out of nowhere.
What do you mean it's out of nowhere? You know it's coming.
I should know, but I just wasn't expecting.
Weston, we good on sound? Okay. I'd get more comfortable on the show every week.
I love it.
Yeah, so that was a situation for me, and also, I won't take up y'all's experience with that, but when you try to come to a person, and I'm more than sure that I've done this before, you try to answer for them instead of listening, right? Mm-hmm. I've done that so many times.
You can't.
Yeah. And I even learned from these guys. Like I watch how Preston interacts with his significant other, and I was like, okay, I could pick up something from that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna go into it. That's y'all's business. But when they communicate, they give each other space, and then they come back and say, hey, well, earlier I thought this. No, I thought that. Mm-hmm. Well, no, that wasn't it at all.
Good for y'all.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I watched that, and I didn't tell him that day that y'all communicated like that. But I thought that even at y'all's age, not to be funny, y'all are old souls anyway. But the way y'all handled that particular situation, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's always like a key for me when we started was first learning each other and our communication, and then going into. We're 6 years in now, so
6 years
going into like we know each other, everything about each other. So when I clean that house and I get it spotless, and she walks in and had the worst day, I'm not going to sit there all day and think, oh, I can't wait till she gets home. I can't wait. I need to be ready for her to not see it at all, let her go and decompress, and then you can tell she knows when I come home mad. I walk in the room, she don't say nothing. She says, you need anything? And no, okay. Lets me go, and then I get on the game, get on my phone, farm simming it, and then once I'm got a smile on my face, we start talking again. Yeah, we'll bring up, and then I explain to her what happened today, what made me feel bad. She comes in mad. I'm not going to be like, well, what happened? I'm just going to let her tell me what happened. I'm not going to like pry it from her.
Yeah, and those are those boxes. Yeah, you guys have understood and picked up on each other's capacity for communication, and when and that is a real thing. I had to learn that. Hey, can I talk to you? Yep. Are you in the space to talk? I
think that's huge. Yeah. Like for me personally, if I don't want to talk, I promise I love you. Like I promise, you have no issues with me. Like, I'm not mad at you, but letting me just do what I need to do. To calm down is my key thing.
And that's important. I think Tonio, to answer your question earlier about like what are some things you can do, I think most importantly when you are dating and getting to know somebody, having those like real conversations about like how do you communicate, and not being afraid to like point out things that you see and that you're observing in a person, because I think to your point, like our capacity to communicate is different. Those boxes are different. Right. And I might have more or less capacity depending on the type of situation it is. If I'm a conflict avoidant person, I might completely shut down. Like when you're trying to talk to me about something serious, and I process those things in a different way. Maybe I do need like a handwritten something so I can really sit and think about it, or I need a few minutes to just kind of decompress and do my thing, and you not take that personally. Yeah, right. You just know this is kind of how I operate.
And I think that Antonio could probably back me up. Like I think that is something that's very hard to do because it is very hard not to take offense when you are involved with someone and your heartstrings are kind of deep and involved. Because if you are a person that are a type of man or woman that wants your partner to, and I guess it comes from previous trauma. I think that in my childhood, somewhere, I've always scanned the room to make sure that everybody's good, right? How did my mom and so interact when they saw each other? Okay, that's good. That check. My sister good? Check. All right. And even now I do that. So I feel like maybe I do that too in relationships. Like, hey, you good? Maybe nothing's wrong. I remember one time our whole life was in school, and I would not wake up, but I would get up off the couch from doing my work and stuff like that and look busy by the time my significant other at that time got home, because I thought that she would look at me like I was lazy. And she had to sit down with me and she said, Derek, I have never once thought that about you.
Right.
You're the most non-lazy person that I know. I created a narrative.
Yeah, your mind playing tricks on you.
In my head about how this person felt about me, and that never crossed their mind. That's, so I think that a lot of the stuff we do to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, part of what sets us apart from other animals, so to speak, as human beings, is we have that capacity to make meaning out of things, right? Like nothing is just happening in a vacuum. It is connected to whatever your experience with that behavior or thought or whatever someone just shared is. That's how you start to formulate whether or not you think this person likes you, whether or not you feel like what they're doing is deliberate. And we kind of just run with it, because at that point, when your defenses are raised, again, specific to like, I should say in my experience, specific to romantic relationships, that feels like the most riskiest thing you'll ever do. And if this relationship doesn't work out for some reason, it's the worst thing that will ever happen to you. You'll never meet someone ever again. Like all of that starts to play into it.
Gloom and doom.
Right. And so and a lot of people respond to that differently. I'll just be silent and kind of suck it up. I ain't gonna say nothing. This don't feel like the right time. Or there's some people who get louder and like, hold up now.
Right.
I said what I said and you gonna hear me. And there's a lot of those dynamics that come into play, but all kind of centered around the meaning you're making out of something that may not even be accurate.
Yeah. I feel like I created a narrative one time, and I know you're gonna look at me crazy, but I feel like there was one time that we talked about intimacy. We talked about transparency in a physical relationship, and I thought I was sitting there putting in work, and I looked down and she was watching Bob's Burgers. She was looking off to the side. And should I feel some type of way about that? Should I create a narrative that in that moment, like I wasn't doing what I thought I was doing, or maybe she just wanted to catch a little glimpse.
Who know?
You never know, right?
You never know.
Well, I think you do know. What do you mean?
Who's
gonna watch cartoons in the middle of that?
First of all, it's a joke. It's a joke.
I know it was.
It's a joke.
I'm just saying.
You ain't gonna be. Never mind.
To each their own.
To each their own. You ain't gonna be watching nothing but. Calm. Yeah. All right. And I already told you last night what I do. So I'm sorry.
Y'all have zero sense.
I'm sorry.
You should hear the conversations when we're private.
Yeah. Oh,
I can only imagine.
But you know what? It ain't a lie. Okay.
As long as it works, it's good.
There ain't no LOD in it.
Yeah.
If y'all know what that acronym is.
110%.
110. Hope, come in, please.
Oh my God.
My bad.
I do have a question. When you see in couples, do you prefer to see them together, or would you prefer to see them separate?
Wonderful question. So I follow a model, part of what I was trained in school when I took my course on how to do couples work. Are y'all behaving?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry. That was rude of me.
This man
I'm sorry.
never behaves.
I do behave. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Yeah, you got to get them together. But the model we kind of worked in was like a 3-session assessment. In the first session, you meet with them together, you do all your intake stuff, and you get an opportunity to hear from the both of them what they think the issue is, and get perspective on that. The next session, I'll split them up individually and kind of do an individual assessment, hear more about people's family of origin experiences, hear their narrative without their partner present, like. Okay, now tell me.
Because people are going to be a little bit more open, right?
Absolutely. Or they're sharing more things. A lot of times that's where there's been situations where secrets will come out. So something,
I want to hear about.
Legally. You know what I'm saying? Can't do that. But I've heard some things. I've heard some very interesting things. And again, kind of going back to our previous conversation about communication, like we're not actually sharing. Sometimes we're cognizant of that,
right? And
we're actually keeping stuff, and it may not even be like not even infidelity type things, but other stuff that can be a violation of trust in a relationship. Yes. And it's like they things are kind of rocky because there's this big secret sitting out here and only one person knows. Now I know. Yeah. And I let people know up front. I was like, when it comes to couples work specifically, I'm not keeping no secrets. If you tell me, the goal will be for you to tell your partner.
Time out. So if somebody tells you secretly, you going to tell the other person? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, sweetheart, don't do that.
Well, no, but here's why.
You tell them.
Part of my job as the therapist is to be differentiated enough where I don't get caught up in you all's pattern. Because if I'm in it too, then I'm not going to be helpful. I'm running the same race y'all running.
Yeah, because okay, I see what you're saying.
So and I make that very clear up front in my first session. This is the type of therapist I am, and I'm not even a therapist who believes that a successful relationship sometimes mean that it needs to end. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid to have those conversations, especially with married people. Right. As we're making progress or not, I'll check in. It's like, do we need to start having a different conversation about the trajectory of you all's relationship? We've been doing this for a while. Right. Both of y'all are sharing and saying that things are not shifting. They're not changing.
Yeah. It's heavy.
Yeah.
And you got to have those. And
I can't be scared.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't be scared.
God, that seems so hard.
It's a wild time. It's a wild time.
That goes into my next question. Yeah. Like, what red flags have you seen that you're like, oh, this is not going to work? Like right at the beginning.
It's hard to say.
Legally, right?
Yes, okay. And even just from like there's a lot of different things that go into why therapy may or may not be working for someone or a couple or a family. It might just be I'm not a good fit, right? But you come to the clinic I work at because we are affordable, and that that's a big thing. And unfortunately, you don't get to choose what therapist you get at the clinic I worked at. You just kind of get placed based on who's available. Sometimes it's people saying they have a goal that they're not actually ready to get to yet. Like, we need to back this up a little bit. But that's where you have conversations. Like, I try to be tuned in. I check in, ask people how things are going. I can usually tell too, even in the nonverbal communication, the last couple of years, everybody's been doing telehealth, which I think has stretched a lot of mental health workers who are clinically active, like stretch your skills of nonverbal and being able to pay attention to the things that people are saying and what they're not saying is even more so. Right. So it's a combination of things, but you always should be assessing and checking in and kind of, seeing how your clients are feeling about their progress and their relationship, and not be afraid to be rejected as the therapist. Like maybe it's a rejection of your plan. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a rejection of you or like your style altogether. And I don't take that personally.
So do you just have to take a step back and kind of reevaluate your plan? Mm-hmm. Yep. Just give them something else that they might like? Absolutely.
I'm a fairly collaborative therapist, and I tell my clients that I'm like, I'm the expert in the room, but I don't know you as well as you do. Like I'm looking for you to be as honest with me as possible, so I can take that information and give you as much as I can. Mm-hmm. But you take the lead. You have to let me know when something isn't hitting for you, or when something, or if something is, right? So we can continue to go down that path. And I try to, with that, like educate people. If I'm saying, let's try this, I'm going to tell you where that's coming from and why I think it would be a good fit for you. I'm not just going to say, you should do this. I want it to be a dialogue and an opportunity, one, for you to learn more and have more language to express yourself and communicate and talk about your feelings and your emotions and what you're experiencing. But also so what's happening to you, or with you, I should say, in this room. And you have say in that. You have autonomy in that, at least in my therapy room.
In her room.
In my room.
So we throw a term around a lot, and we call it, adulting, right? Right? Mm-hmm. And that looks different for each one of us that sits in this room, right?
Yeah.
And giving ourselves grace with adulting, what does that mean to you?
Ooh, a lot of self-forgiveness, a lot of self-compassion, and permission to make mistakes. I think, a lot of us have grown up under this narrative or expectation of like, this is what a successful adult looks like, and this is what they do, and this is what their trajectory is. I think us as millennials and have access to the internet, we've definitely shaken the table on like what those different paths can look like. But irregardless, like of how you're navigating those things, I think everybody has those moments where you are doubting like your capabilities to do this and to be perceived, whether that's for yourself or by other people, as like doing a good job, right?
What does that mean to each person, right?
Right.
Because like everything you're saying right now is things that I've filtered through, you know, and at the end of all that, I said, no, Derek, are you proud of you? Right? Regardless of what I've done to make somebody else feel proud. At the end of the day, Derek, you know, I tell myself, are you proud of you for the things that you've done? Forgiveness for myself, and not to cut you off, but I think forgiveness for myself is one of the things I've struggled with the most.
Right, that's huge.
Would you say that too? Like,
I mean, not so much as a struggle, but when it has like happened, you know, it's hard to tell yourself that.
Right, and I think even in certain situations, I think I heard somebody say, you wouldn't talk this way to, I think you might have said, you wouldn't talk this way to your family. You wouldn't talk this way to your best friend. So why are you talking this way to yourself? Right? Yeah, see? He beats me. Right? I want y'all to see this.
Yes.
He's 1-0. Yep. So me trying to have better conversations with myself, I feel like has really helped me. And I've tried to start that recently, well, within the last couple of years. And just taking the time to be like, you know what? No, I didn't get to that today, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
Right.
Yeah.
That just means I forgot a task. You know, because in therapy, when I was talking to my therapist, she talked about spiraling.
Yeah.
Right? So waking up in the morning late can turn into, all right, I missed that appointment and I got to reschedule it. Turns into, well, I don't feel like going to the grocery store today. You stay inside and order pizza. And at the end of the night, you're like, well, I'm pretty lousy.
Yeah, you didn't get nothing
But
done.
that's not even true.
It's not true.
That's
Especially if all the other 6 days of the week,
You're grinding, right?
Yeah, you did.
That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
Huge thing. And I think I'm not the only person that struggles with that. Because
No.
at the end of the day, you look outside and it's drawing closer, the sun's going down, and you have hit none of the things on your list that you wanted to. It's okay. We got another day to go at it. Hopefully, right?
And if not, then child, you ain't got nothing to worry about no way.
Right. You're out of here.
Yeah.
You know? Make sure you figure out who that life insurance is going to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest things I've learned to do is also, because that's one of the struggles that I have, is also not planning 14 things for me to do in that day.
Oh God, yeah, no.
That
Don't
doesn't
set
you
these
set yourself for
crazy
failure.
goals
Right.
because you're not gonna hit it,
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go home, and when that sun goes down and you
be
can't do
sad.
anything, you're gonna be like, bro, I didn't do.
I didn't do nothing today. I hit farm sim.
Yeah,
And
literally.
depleted my minerals. And now I'm tired.
Yeah,
And now I got to eat.
and you spend money on food because you're supposed to cook.
You're supposed to cook.
Then go to the store.
That's one of the biggest things I've tried to start doing.
Yeah.
If I don't have the energy for it, I used to be the biggest critic on myself. Derek, you're a grown man. You don't need a nap.
Child.
Yeah, no.
It's huge.
I'll take a
You know?
nap.
It's huge.
Huge. You know, and Tonio will tell you straight up, hey, Tonio, we're going to an event. Tonio's going to say what time and who's going.
Period.
Right?
Important question.
Right? And he's going to
Who
base
all gonna be there?
He's going to base his decision off of, those things. And I get so mad because I'll lie to him.
Now, Derek.
I'm being honest. We're being honest, right? Being transparent. I will lie to Tonio about maybe who's going to be there or what the because we just want to see his face. It ain't even the fact that we're trying to. People love to see his face.
Yeah.
And I know that's
Nobody
anxiety.
likes me. I don't know why you say that.
We call my granny. We call my granny right now, and you would think that these are her grandsons.
That's different.
Yeah, but I'm saying like in our friends group, every time we do something, Derek, they beg me, please get him to come out, and that's just real love. Because they just want to check on him, make sure he's okay,
And put some eyes on you.
That's
make sure
all
you
it
eat.
is. A lot of
Well, he's
times
eating good. He's got
that's it.
hibachi and all that stuff. He's eating
I'm good
good.
inside.
I was
I
gonna
feel
say the biggest thing when it comes to your relationship with yourself and as you navigating these things, you got to be real about who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
As badly as I want to be a gym goer in the morning, I don't like to get up before 10 o'clock. But if I continue to tell myself, girl, you're going to get up at 6, you're going to be in the gym by 6:30, I'm going to continue to fail and I'm going to get more and more upset with myself and start to internalize like, you know, you just this, you're that. Like, this is so simple, but it's not, because that's not who I am. I've never been an early riser. Anybody that know me will tell you before 10 o'clock, I ain't too much good. 9 o'clock, I might be able to give you something, but you know, it's not, that's not real life for me. And so I have to set goals that are realistic and in alignment with who I am rather than trying to be a version of a person that someone, whoever, told me I should be.
Thank you.
You're welcome
for that. That struck home with me because I feel like sometimes we got to wear so many hats.
Yeah.
And I feel like tailoring, Steak and Sauce family, tailoring what works best for you doesn't mean that you're taking a step down. Mm-hmm. That just means, like you said, being realistic. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people struggle with that too. I feel like we want to fill up our card with all of these great things that really stress us out.
Yeah.
That really cost us a lot of time and energy. And we're doing that in hopes that, you know, our plate looks full. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's okay to not have, you know, nothing on there. And I'm always saying this because everything that y'all are talking about right now, I have struggled with, you know, expectations and you know, saying, hey, I can't do that today. Can I try tomorrow? You know, and being okay with, you know, saying that. I always see these memes of somebody canceling and the other person's on the phone like, man, I hate that we can't make it.
Was never dressed.
Had his do-rag on. Didn't even shower yet. You know what I'm saying?
I wash my ass daily,
I'm not saying you don't wash. I'm saying that for this event, you were like, thank the Lord, you know, like, you know. And every time I see one of those memes, I think about you. It's hilarious, you know.
You called today. I was like, hopefully.
Yeah. You picked up that phone so fast. Hello, we still filming? We filming? Yeah, Antonio, we filming. All right, man. I just thought, you know. He was so happy when I called him. No, but I called.
Just let it ring.
You let it ring, yeah. You screen my calls, yeah. Yeah. So look at Wesley. Let's not put how about them Cowboys in the text. But I don't want to. When we talked about inside of the relationship, I wrote down a few things that we talked about. Inherent. Am I saying that right? Inherent distrust, right? And emotional risk being involved with somebody. And I think that's what you told me that you struggle with the most.
Most likely.
Emotional risk that you are going to display and allow somebody to actually see.
Yeah.
Right?
And respond to.
Right. And respond to. Because being around somebody for the length amount of time that we may have, they're going to see everything. They're going to see the habits you have, the relationship you have with your family, with your friends, the days, what good days don't look like for Antonio, what Antonio does when he's agitated. Everybody lay down. No, I'm joking. He doesn't do that. That's a joke. But, you know, they're going to see everything that you've been going through. When people come in and talk to you, have you ever sat back and just been like, man, I've also struggled with that, and then applied it to your own life? How much of what you've learned do you apply to yourself?
I tell my clients all the time that I learn just as much from them as they do from me. Okay. And something that any mental health provider probably is aware of is like, in the room, our biggest tool is us as people. And none of that turns off, you know, just because I'm sitting on this side of the couch and, you know, y'all are over there and we're talking through things. I am still bringing my full personhood in here. So some of the stuff that we are talking about, maybe some of the views you have about relationships or about even me as a person, you might have preconceived notions about anything, right? And I have to still sit across from you and be able to engage in a way where those things that I'm dealing with are not interfering, or worst case scenario, causing harm to the work to you, given the work that we're doing. And that's something you have to be very cognizant of. So anytime I run into a case where things feeling a little familiar, you know, starts getting a little hot in the room.
Triggered?
Yeah, you just like, wow, okay. You know, and again, like I said, I think I'm a natural compartmentalizer, so I just kind of stick that in my back pocket. And I'll call my homegirls, 2 of which are also therapists. So we went to our master's program together. At one point in time, I did have my own therapist. And if you are a mental health counselor or a therapist of any sort, if you can, get you a therapist because it's very helpful.
Therapists need therapy.
Absolutely. And given that when I've been in training, and especially now as an associate licensed person, you have a supervisor, so someone that you touch base with about your cases, and you talk about those things. We call it person of the therapist issues, where you know something your clients are dealing with might be mirroring exactly what it is that you're going through right now. Like you're in the middle of it with them. And so, yeah, it really has helped me because I have to really sit and I have to buy into whatever it is I'm telling them that they need to do that's going to be helpful. Yeah. And I sit back and like, girl, why you ain't doing that? Like, you can't be. I'm very much a practice what you preach type of person. When I go, you know, to the different houses of the Lord and engage with the leaders, I'm paying attention to you and what you're doing, and are what you telling me I need to do? Are you doing it yeah. to the best of your ability? I'm not looking for perfection, but I'm just looking for alignment and follow through. So I try to practice that myself. Like as a therapist, I don't put pressure on myself to be a perfect person, but I do put pressure on myself to check in, because that me not doing that type of work and maintenance for myself doesn't just impact me. It impacts, you know, obviously my family and whoever's close to me, but it can also impact my work. And that's something that I don't ever want to put at risk.
That's hard to do.
It is.
Because you can give knowledge to great knowledge to somebody, but you might not be doing it. Just because you know it doesn't mean you're doing it. It's a lot of people deal with that. And something else that me and you were talking about, like, does it ever become too much? Like, how do you
take it home with you?
I mean, there's so much baggage that you are getting off these people every day. Like, how do you keep up, you know, like, because I mean, we can, you know, we sit here, might get baggage from one person and try to help them as much as we can, but it still hurts us, you know.
Yeah.
Just one person.
Yeah.
It's draining. And so I'm sure if you had 15, what'd you say you had?
At one point, yeah.
I mean, and that's not to speak on them personally, but I guess to your strength, you talk about putting that into compartments. So, you know, do you kind of leave it at work, or do you think?
Yeah, like how do you do it? Like,
it's a combination of things. I think number one, I'm a very spiritual person, and so you know, there's only so much I can do in terms of the specifications of my job title. But as a person who love the Lord, I'm gonna pray for you. You know, I'm laying hands on y'all. Yep. I got sage. You know what I'm saying?
Right in here.
All the things, right? Because I'm going to be covered, number one. And I'm covering my clients, whether or not that's something they are in alignment with. It's not even something we do together. This is for me. This is a ritual for me.
What are you laughing about?
I'm sorry.
What?
I can't laugh, though. It's not nothing she's saying. I just had a vision of her with sage in the office room
and his imagination
and throwing water on these people, you know, like,
but quite literally, I have been at my laptop before, and I, especially, you know, because I know my schedule, I know who's coming,
right.
And I said, let me go on and just light this and say a few words.
Because you know,
for real. And I asked God, I said, you know, just help me to find the words to be helpful to these people. You know, help me to remain calm and not allow my own personal like responses or reactions to come up, but really kind of give myself permission to slow down the session, right? Because I think obviously as the expert, and people, especially when people are coming for couples things, there's a sense of urgency about the work we're doing.
Yes, right? Because damn it, we need some help.
We need some help. We paying you this money.
Yeah, because Brandy's wilding.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Brandy, help us, right?
Yeah. So that's another thing. How many people do you think you helped in the past year?
In the past year?
Yeah.
I would like to think that I've helped all the people that I've been working with. Like when I was working in the clinic previously, I pretty much had the same clients from my time that I started in January 2001 until I finished December, this past December. And, you know, based on what they said, you know, I have been helpful, even if the outcome or what they thought they wanted or needed in the beginning is not what we ended up getting to, but I think it has helped them more than anything just have more better self-awareness. And because I think with better self-awareness and more language, like having more language to communicate and express yourself about what you need, you can tell somebody, like, I know myself well enough when I'm feeling this particular way, this is how I need to be handled. I need you to know that it doesn't have anything to do with you. This is just my process, right? Rather than just doing you and then allowing the other person to come up in their own mind with what that behavior means, right? I feel like that's been a big missing thread, and there's a therapy model called emotion focused therapy that we do with couples a lot, and you hear people, you ask them what's the problem, and they'll express, like, when you feeling a little turned up and you're upset, you're saying all these things. And I'm trying to think of a generic example. If we go back to the phone thing, one partner is expressing like, they're always on their phone. Like, they never want to give me attention. And I go out of my way to do this, that, and the third. And so I take that in and I listen. I said, it sounds like you really miss your partner and you're looking for an opportunity to reconnect with them at the end of the day. And so when they're on their phone, it bothers you because you're feeling like you're missing out on that. And they'll be like, yeah. And I said, can you say that? Instead of
yeah.
Some people look at you like deer in the headlights, because it's like, that feels a little too like close to home. Like, I'm really telling you, you hurt my feelings. Yeah. But they did. But you being angry and acting like you don't care is not communicating the message you think is communicating.
Right. The delivery, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think
this, Antonio?
I think maybe we can relate to that.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that our delivery goes the right way. Mm-hmm. Because, and sometimes I know it's different, because for men and women, sometimes as men, we don't even want to address the fact that you even made us feel some type of way, because we got our friends that'll tell us, man, we got our significant other that may be wanting something from us. Mm-hmm. Our personal selves, we're trying to dial in and figure out what's going on with this. And then you have, how am I looking to them? Mm-hmm. It's always, I feel like it's always, this thing of, in the back of your mind, you're wondering, how does that person really perceive me?
Yeah.
Because you want to know. I think as men, we pride ourselves on a few different abilities for what we can do. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure we hit all those marks. Mm-hmm. And if we feel like we're not, or we feel like you may look at us differently, we're either going to try to work harder or we're going to shut down. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that's hard for men to admit, or that we struggle with, But as men, I feel like it's as tough as I am to run through a wall, it's just as fragile as I am, because our egos can get hurt. Pride can get hurt over small things. And
yeah.
A lot of guys will watch this. I ain't got no. Yeah, you do, bro.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. You walk around with a Glock on your hip, but you soft.
Period.
Okay? You soft for it. Charming. But no, I'm just being funny.
No, but I appreciate you saying that, and I think men, in my experience, both professionally and personally, do tend to struggle with that more than women do. Now, women are not perfect at it either, but it is a thing. There's something about this. However, you all have been socialized to be a man, like what masculinity looks like. Yeah, it's
talk about that all the time.
It's this.
Oh, I was like,
no, I'm not.
Say something?
No. I wasn't cloud on you. I'm saying, how many conversations have we had?
Yeah, okay.
Around what Preston's idea of a man is to you.
Yeah.
What an idea of a man is to me is all of us have different ideas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's standards that we hold ourselves to as what a man should do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you want to uphold those things, and a lot of times that idea of what it means to be a man does not include your feelings, right? Or at least acknowledgement of your feelings. And I've heard a lot of I took a class, I think last spring, about the social determinants of health, and we talked about, like, for when we look at gender, why certain physical ailments impact men a lot. And I was in class and I was thinking about it, I was like, because they ain't talking. They're not talking. They're not being real, whether with themselves or their partner, their family. Y'all have needs as well as men because you're people. Yeah. Yes. At the end of the day, you're a person who has feelings. We all have them. And so to deny them or to think you're hiding them, because we ain't hiding them. You're not hiding your feelings the way you think you are. Right. They're felt. You know, so it's like you and I tell people, I can't be nobody but me. Yeah. At the end of the day, whatever I believe Tiara is supposed to be, that's all I can be. I can't pretend to do nothing else. No matter how hard I try, if I'm feeling away, even if you don't know me well, you'll know. Right. Like you'll feel it. I can't pretend. But I have been in situations and have observed, you know, like professionally and both personally, where someone is clearly upset. And I'm like, okay, you're being weird. And I know I didn't do anything. Like, what's up? What's happening? Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm fine. Okay.
You know, to speak on that, not to cut you off,
but I'm
going to speak on it. Mm-hmm. And if you got a problem with it, meet me at Kroger as always. My hands work. As a man, and maybe nobody else can identify with this at the table, but if you can, you know, that's great. 2 areas I think that limit communication or trying to express our feelings. Mm-hmm. One, we've had a previous situation where it might have been negative, right? Mm-hmm. We expressed what we were dealing with, and we were met with maybe some belittling, you know, comparing me and my current state of how I'm feeling to some fictitious man and how he carries himself, and he never talked, and he was more masculine because he didn't express himself, and you're being feminine. First of all, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a woman. Yeah. If you're walking around as a woman and you got your shoulders puffed out and you think that you're more of a man than the man that you're with, that probably stems from something that's not healthy. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. It probably stems from you having to take up roles and things that you didn't need to be in at that time. It probably takes, you didn't have a great man or a man to positively be in your life, or mentorship, or to, show you that the quiet, stern type of approach is an approach, but it's not the only one. Right. So I think sometimes as men, if we don't live up to the idea of what a woman may think is somebody that's masculine, you're constantly trying to prove that to that person, or to figure out what that means for them, and losing a part of yourself. Because as long as you're checking off the blocks that you feel like with your family and within yourself, you should be okay. But you may never, what if we never live up to that expectation of what that person deems as being, this is man enough for me?
Then that's not your person. If that's not you, that's not your person. But I also think all of us need to expand our ideas about what it means to be a man or a woman. Like I'm sure y'all, in our society now, we talk about the range of gender identity, right? I think this newer generation being more vocal about that and kind of forcing people to learn and understand these terminologies. I think it's something important that we all adopt. I think it allows us to be more free as people. Right. Living in a world where things are either black or white is not, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't align with what life is, which is very complex and is very gray. And people need should have the room to move their needle on whatever spectrum we're talking about that feels aligned with who they are as a person, and that be freely expressed. And now who it gels with, and who it doesn't, it doesn't. And I've gotten to a point now, even in my personal life, when it comes to dating, I think early on, for some reason, we all have this idea, the person you meet, there's almost an expectation like this is supposed to go somewhere or be something. Yeah. And sometimes it's not supposed to. Yeah. Sometimes somebody don't like, you're not for everybody, and you're not supposed to be for everybody. No. And that's what this whole process is about, us trying to figure out if you are for me or not. Yeah. And I have to be real with you and myself about who me is. Right. So you can accurately judge, and hopefully you're giving me as much of you as you can and being honest about that, so I can know.
Yes.
Because I don't know, y'all probably heard people being married for 25, 30 years decide to get divorced, and you're like, dang, like, how the hell that happened, right?
Yeah, when did you stop liking me? Year 10?
Right. But that it becomes a real question. And I feel like I've heard this general narrative of like, you know, when we were younger, like when we met, I thought I was this type of person, or I was trying to be this type of person for you.
Yeah, and they didn't. Yeah.
And that's not who you were. And you weren't being honest about that, you know, for whatever reason. Or, you know, people just change, things shift. But even a part of the communication, like when you're in a relationship with folks, to me, it's courteous to let them, clue them in when you're undergoing a transformation. If you know that, sometimes we don't. But like as soon as you become aware, like something has shifted for you, something's different, you owe it to that person to let them know so they can make an informed decision.
I'd like to run something by you.
Go ahead.
We talked about people moving the needle in a certain season or whatever they're going through. I think a lot of relationships take a big blow when the person or your partner is going through something that you don't understand. You might not be in an agreement with, and I'm just speaking from personal experiences. I think we try to put so much into a certain situation, not knowing that people are going to continuously, like you said, evolve and change. But can we evolve and change together? I was watching Lauren London in an interview speak about her relationship with the late and great Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. She said when she met Nipsey, she felt this overwhelming, and I'm paraphrasing, she felt this overwhelming sense of possession, right? And I think we've all been in relationships, marriages, or I mean, whatever it is, where you're like, that's my woman, that's my man, that's my husband, that's my wife. We put a lot of mine. She said that after reading and after looking at how beautiful their time was together, she realized, and I'm trying to adapt this for myself, that the love is free.
Yeah.
There's no possessiveness. People come in and out of our lives as they're supposed to, and we're supposed to just enjoy them or love them for that moment. We can't let one person that comes in and leaves or whatever be the total despair because we have other chapters we have to go to. So she was saying as much when she was in that possessive part of the love with him, she didn't fully understand their full connection.
Yeah.
But when she was able to back up and see, you know, hey, we were two amazing people that were loving each other in an open and free space, and we could freely move or do whatever we wanted to do. And I think when you try to apply that to life, a lot of people would have trouble comprehending that. Because even now, if somebody told you maybe that, if you weren't open-minded to your own relationship, you'd be like, nah, we rocking. Or you're, you know, whatever you're going through, you'd be like, no, that's mine. That's this, that's that. But having a different perspective also, I think, could help men and women to say, I'm not saying don't give it your all,
right?
But being totally okay with somebody coming in your life and things not going right and it totally shifting, and you being at peace because you know that that's just a evolving cycle. And we met in this moment, and we had something, and then, you know, my life is going here, your life's going there. And I think if we can adapt that more, I feel like it may help people, you know, because think about how many people have gotten stuck off of, well, I was a soldier in Germany and I met this beautiful woman at this bread store, and I know I was supposed to be with her, but the war happened and I never got a chance to see her again. So I went ahead and married someone else, but I know she's still out there. And maybe that was just supposed to be that brief interaction at that bread store so you can appreciate that person for who they were. And it's hard. Even me saying it's hard. But it just and y'all might be like, boy, that boy done hit something. But this is all stuff that after I saw that interview, I really thought about it.
Yeah, no, that's real. I mean, you know, we don't possess anybody.
We don't, you know, and I didn't mean that like I'm possessed.
No.
I meant like the titles we put on each other. When you meet somebody, and we've all been there, and you know, you get that high school teenage feel going on, and you're up at night, and you got your feet up on the headboard talking, and you ain't even talking about nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nothing. You know, everybody's going through that, so you feel like we're inseparable. When you really look at a woman from a man's point of view, and you look at her and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna ride for you. I'm gonna protect you at all costs. I'm gonna protect my children. You don't have to worry about me getting up for work. I'm gonna do that. You don't have to worry about me figuring it out. I'm gonna handle that. When you look at a woman like that, I can't describe that feeling, because you just want her to know nobody's gonna mess with you. Right. And when that can kind of shift, and I don't know how this for a woman, but women put just as much, I feel like, or more into certain situations, right? Yeah. And so I feel like all that comes back to what we call it, emotional risk.
Come on, right? You brought it back around.
Brought it back around full circle. I knew I was gonna get there. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say, like, with the possession, I think about children and parents.
Yeah.
You know, your parents, they create you, they have you, and you are their child.
Yes.
And then there's one day where you ain't a child no more.
Right.
And you have choices, you have autonomy. And even that transition gets a little bit difficult, because I think a lot of parents, and I think that's something that's shifting in the dialogue right now, is like how to love your children and care for them and nurture them, knowing that they are supposed to leave you. That your relationship, the way it is when it starts, is supposed to look different by the time they get to be an older adult and, you know, figuring things out for themselves. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
That is crazy to think about. Yeah, that's wild.
But it's true.
Yeah, I mean,
it's true.
I think about, and I know we're getting close on time, I think about what my mom told me at one point, literally living her life for me and my sister.
And that's emotional risk.
Right. And then when me and my sister left the house, my mom was like, I still got to go to work and stuff, but it feels different now. I had to go to work before to make sure my kids were okay, but I got to go to work now to keep my job. It's different motivation.
Different motivation.
Different motivation behind it. It's a different reason. And I think sometimes, like, we can't lose so much of ourselves to where we don't continue to do those same things for us.
Period.
Even with the absence of people or certain things.
That's a great note to leave with.
Yeah. And the only reason I can say that is because I'm not gonna get emotional. But no, and this is like people that, you know, in your family that may leave or pass or something like that. Like, I have one more thing I want to get to right quick. Protecting ourselves, you said, can be harmful.
Yeah.
Right? Can you dive into that right quick before we sign out?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I was talking about that specific to romantic relationships, where you know, kind of what we were talking about when it comes to communication. We are having these interactions with people that we, as you were just saying, like as a man, you see your woman, you want to protect her, you want her to be assured. All these things you're doing in the background, she may not even be aware of it consciously, that you are doing.
Only for her to have a OF
for
page.
Her.
Okay.
I cannot. We support sex workers. Right. But you know, you're doing all this stuff for her. Yeah. And something happens where you get a response or a reaction that you weren't anticipating, or you felt like was left field. You know, she comes in from work, got an attitude, but you know all the things that you have done quite consciously throughout this day. Yeah. Throughout the week, to try to make her feel loved and appreciated, and you're not getting the response you want from that. The emotional risk, right? I'm doing all of this. I'm, you know, making these sacrifices because love is sacrifice. I'm making all these compromises because love is compromise. You're not, like, what is this energy? Like, what is this, right? And usually that kind of sends up our little spidey senses, like, no, this ain't safe. This doesn't feel like somewhere I can continue to be vulnerable, because that's vulnerability, right? When you are allowing yourself to really be open and to do all these things with this person in the forefront of your mind, and you're making all these adjustments, and you're just really going out of your way in your mind, above and beyond, and you're not getting the response from that. Like, that'll make anybody feel like, now hold up, or like I am being vulnerable. I'm sharing something really deep with you, and you don't have the space to receive it, or you don't hold it well. You don't handle me fragilely. Like that. This feels unsafe. Whether or not that's what they intended.
And that's what I was going to say.
That's how we feel.
I had to learn that a lot, not to cut you off. I want you to finish. A lot of the stuff that I would create a narrative about, Steak and Sauce family, a lot of stuff I would create a narrative about or the way I would feel, 90% of the time had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I learned that.
Yeah.
You know, and that comes from growth. 90% of the time has nothing to do. I even do that now. If certain situation will pop up, I'm like, man, you know, Preston didn't answer my call because he owed me $20. But the reason he didn't answer my call is because he is fixing his dishwasher. You know what I'm saying? I've created
or he
this.
Might be at the ATM getting the $20.
Yes. I've created this whole thing and not even, you know, so yes, that's
yeah.
real.
And those things are usually, again, from my personal experience and my professional experience, are linked to things that happened to you when you were younger that, you know, traumatized you, stuck with you in some way. And so that's why the need to protect yourself pops up. So that's, for some, like I said, for some folks, their defensive response is, I'm going to get louder. For some people, I'm going to shut down. I'm going to leave. And then what that behavior does is tell your partner that they need to protect themselves. You have done something now to make them feel bad, whether or not that was your intention.
This is full circle.
Correct. It's a reciprocal thing.
Like we just keep doing this dance and hoping that we end up, you know, at the end of it a certain type of way, but there's so much stuff we're missing. Right. There's so much stuff we haven't said, and we're creating all these situations that haven't happened. Yep. You know? And I hope, you know, everybody watching can really put this to themselves and maybe find comfort or heal or find a better way to communicate and stuff, because we are definitely being transparent.
Now, this is not, there are some things that are clearly abuse. Now, that we're not talking about, you know, making exceptions or being curious about that. Those things are clear. But to your point, like we're hurt people hurting other people, and it's unintentional. And the continued emotional risk or the choice you have to make, am I going to continue to be vulnerable? Right? And however this person responds, that's information for me. I don't need to take it personal, but if they don't take me in the way I'm asking to be taken in, or handle me the way I'm asking them to handle me, that's information. And you can do something with that.
And then you got a whole tally sheet and it's building up, right? Because a lot of people will give you one chance to be vulnerable with you. If you fumble it, you fail it, if you mishandle them in that vulnerable moment, they will never trust you again. They will never open up. They will change everything. And I can't say that for everybody, but from my experience, when you misplace trust, when you don't handle somebody the way that they think you should, or a situation, you were at one point the most approachable and closest person to them. Now I have hurt you or put a barrier up. So now everything that I'm doing, I don't know about that dude. Yeah. Right. So, you know, and that's where like you said, grace, all that stuff comes in.
And sometimes therapy
and all that stuff. Yeah. I know we got to sign out. If you could give advice to the young men and women, old, anybody watching, on things that they could start to do, or anybody looking to date, any advice for them to up front? There's things that we're not doing up front that we should do more. I think you mentioned being more transparent, communicating expectations, talking about childhood stuff.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, and something that's been really helpful for me on a personal level, is just being more honest with myself. I think that's hard. As a young person, especially, that you don't know yourself the way you think you do. And so just kind of really taking the time to sit down and be real with yourself about who you are, what it is you say that you want, and then taking assessment of the decisions you're making, the people you're choosing to date, the people you're choosing to be friends with, the opportunities you're choosing to take. Are they in alignment with who you say you are and who you want to be? Because to me, if there's misalignment, then the situation won't ever work out the way you want it to. So if you can be real, start with the relationship with yourself is the most important one you have.
Yes.
So checking in.
You gonna be with yourself? I realize that.
Come on.
I ain't gonna be with nobody else as long as I'm gonna be with me.
Yeah, period.
You know?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
I gotta build treasures up in here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like you said, be honest. You know, so I gotta start saying from jump, hey, it's a few days out the week, I don't want you to shower when you get home.
Oh my God.
Derek, go away. Please.
Is that not being transparent and honest?
Letting them know about the FDM.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that's very honest.
Why would I want to hold that, right?
Yeah.
I need that up front because that goes into the paradigm of things, expectations, and you know,
you need that.
If that is an important thing for you, you know, be honest about it.
Right? I'm joking, but we got to have a part 2. We got to have it back.
I think so.
Yeah.
There are so many questions and things we didn't get a chance to get to, but thank you.
Yeah, no, this was great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been amazing. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and not just pick each other's brains, but have somebody that actually does this and can guide us and navigate us through this.
It's really cool having someone that has a lot more knowledge.
Yes,
that was really nice because we could sit here and talk and feel like some of the stuff we say might not be right, even though we
right.
You know,
right.
Like she knows.
I've heard a couple of clips. Y'all on the right track.
You know,
on the right track.
Right. We appreciate you. So, this is episode 24.
24.
I got that right.
Yes, sir.
I won't get beat up because I got
Kobe
that
episode.
Kobe episode, right? Rest in peace. I got that right. So once again, Steak and Sauce family, we appreciate everyone's support. We cannot do this without you guys. So we want to continue to thank you for that. Thank you for continue to give us a platform to push out great content, to have amazing guests. Thank you to everybody that's here. We thank God for allowing us to continue to be creative and giving us a light to shine. And we want to continue to earn your support. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that notification button. If you want to come on to the show, continue to write to us and let us know what you'd like to talk about.
They're a great time.
Right. We recently had a couple reach out to me that wants to start a podcast on everything horror, and we're going to have them on the show. And I kind of talked to them and kind of gave them some insight of things that we've experienced that they could avoid in the beginning. And I'm excited to see what that show is going to be like.
And can I say really quickly, I'm very proud of y'all.
Oh,
I'm very proud of y'all. We haven't known each other very long, but I've known you since this has started to become a thing. And I'm very just excited for, you know, what y'all are doing and continue to be consistent. Your voices are necessary. And yeah, I'm glad that you invited me to be here.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. Yeah. Really appreciate you. Would you like to say anything to sign out or?
Child, God bless y'all. Go to therapy.
Yeah.
You don't have to have something going wrong to go to therapy.
Nope.
Just go. Talk to somebody that don't know you for real.
Right.
So they can keep it realer with you than probably your homegirls or your homeboys or whoever. Go to therapy.
Preston?
I'm good.
All right. Boy. Yeah. Give us a good boy. Just a good one.
Boy.
Yeah. Antonio?
I'm good. I hit my parlay, so I'm straight.
Well, you know what that means tonight, baby. We going
all
to
Antonio.
Hey, what's that place we going to? What's that Kabuki? Kabuki.
Yeah, Kabuki.
We going to Kabuki.
Boy.
I'm getting steak and rice. Everything nice. No, but thank you, Steak and Sauce family. Until the next time, be blessed.